So guys, I've been really enjoying the GH6. It's a fantastic camera. I like it for video, I like it for stills, I like it for cinematic purposes. And a big part of that is that dynamic range boost, kind of the talk of the camera. One of the main features that it brings to the table to kind of push it into the APS-C and, full frame range of dynamic range in terms of the usable stops. And in my experience, I want that dynamic range on as often as possible. But there's a few modes and hangups and weird user interface things that prevent me from always choosing that dynamic range boost, especially in more fast-paced run-and-gun situations, which I think is fairly common use for the GH6 with the decent low light and really good IBIS and things like that. DR boost only works up to 60 frames per second, and sometimes the 800/2000 ISO is just a little much for whatever situation you're in. But when you move to a different situation, you have to go to the menu, switch things up. It's a whole hassle to turn on and off that feature, and so I thought of a few ways, or have heard of a few ways, and put my own spin on it. So the main solution I think most people talk about is just some kind of override button. Say you're at a wedding, which is something I do a lot, and you're trying to film, 4K 60 for most of the day, but there's one moment where you want to shoot 4K 120 frames a second. Now, because of that cap off at 4K 60 with DR boost, you go to 4K 120 and it's grayed out. And you click on it and, to their credit, they do tell you, hey, this isn't able to be activated because of dynamic range boost being on, but if they just had an override button at the bottom of that prompt that said, turn DR boost off, or like force turn override, whatever. I don't know how they would exactly put it, but having that there to just quickly say, hey, you can't use this because of DR boost, you want to turn it off? You say yes, turn it off. It goes off and you're back to shooting 4K 120. If you switch it back to 4K 60, you'd probably have to enable it then, but that's still half of the menu navigation moment you need to enable or disable that feature. I think what actually might be better for me personally, though, would just be like an automatic feature for dynamic range boost. If you own the S1H or the GH5S, they have dual gain circuits, which is different than the dual output sensor of the GH6, but essentially that allows you to choose between the low gain, the high gain, or have it on auto, which just freely scrolls from the absolute lowest to the absolute highest, and when the second gain would kick in, it does. It'll basically work how it works in photo mode, whereas like 100 to like 640, I think it is just no DR boost, and then 800 on in photos, DR boost is essentially on no matter what. If there was a way to pick, DR boost on, off, or auto, and just let DR boost turn on when it can, and let it turn off when it can't, Again, I'm going to use weddings or events as a, or maybe even plays or dance recitals as an example. If your camera's on auto ISO, or if you're changing ISO quickly, you might be inside or in a situation where you want dynamic range boost on, but if you move into a situation where it's too bright, you're gonna have to go DR boost off, then switch your ISO lower, whereas in an automatic mode, it would just freely be able to be chose and even work in automatic mode. I hope that's possible. I think it should be, but yeah. Number 2 solution is just having, when you go to DR boost in the menu, it'll say on, off, and then the new option would be automatic, where if it's under 800 or under 2000 ISO, DR boost is off. And if it's over those values, DR boost is on, because in my experience testing the camera, the noise, the color, especially of course dynamic range, and that unfortunate streaking effect is all better with dynamic range boost turned on at those values as opposed to turned off. So I don't think either of those solutions is better or worse than the other. In fact, I kind of hope they implement both of those solutions, because that override could be good in some situations, like switching from 4K 60 to 4K 120, whereas the auto setting would be nice for run and gun situations where you're switching ISO rapidly, or like I said, if you, God forbid, even have the ISO on auto for one reason or another. So yeah, I think this is a great feature, and I think the easier to use it, the better with some of these fixes, because there is a benefit to it, but especially when I'm at weddings shooting in standard or natural profiles, the dynamic range is nice to have and it is a boost. But if it's going to make me miss a shot or inconvenience me, that might actually not be worth it in that situation, and I'll just have to leave it off in the most fast-paced situations. But if there was an auto mode, it would be a lot easier to use what I think is one of the best features on the GH6. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Which of these changes do you think would be better, or which of these workarounds to improve the quality of life using dynamic range boost would be best for you? Or let me know if you have another solution to how the dynamic range boost could work a little bit better. But at the end of the day, it's up to Panasonic. Message Panasonic, email, Lumix Live cameras, join into the live streams. The more we talk about this stuff, Panasonic's one of the few companies that actually listens to its users. And I think if we talk about this stuff enough, they're going to listen. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.